Forgetting to do it. Hello, welcome to the Playground Experience live Q&A. So we have here April Williams and also Stephanie Gibbs here as well tonight. At Kathy D is on mommy duty, and so she won't be on with us, but she'll be joining in probably through the chat every now and then if she's able to. So tonight's topic is again being emotional unavailable. That is something that I would say not until I was today years old that I heard it. No, I'm not gonna say that. Maybe I was about this month's old when I heard it. About emotional unavailable. I'm like, that's not me. I'm very open. But the more and more I ventured into it, I could see how places that I had put up barriers or walls to me was something that would keep myself safe, but I didn't know at the same time I was keeping people out. I know April, I will definitely credit that to me to always remind me about how when I'm putting up for certain people, that I also remember that I'm also have a way of maybe keeping the divine counterpart out as well, or people that I want to come in, because I've got these set barriers that I'm saying I got my set boundaries, but at the same time it might get a little bit flubbed, and you might even find yourself involuntarily have volunteered yourself to be unavailable and don't even know it. It has to be other people that kind of call you on your stuff to know that. And
did somebody say unavailable?
Yeah,
because I'm back
now
and being rude.
All right.
There's all these things I'm doing. I'm gonna be total jerk all day just because I'm emotionally unavailable. Who's excited? Who's excited to find out that they really got problems and they've been manifesting it themselves?
most of the time with unemotional unavailable it's everybody but them, and that's interesting that I was watching the video before I came on. It was talking about the Mercury retrograde and how it's really handling all signs, and since we're moving into the sign of Gemini, which the young lady was talking about communications, how again it's not about how we're communicating and talking and saying things, but she was saying it was more so about the story that we're telling ourselves, and that is also that story that we tell ourselves can help us to stay emotionally unavailable still. Like people don't like me, okay, they go to wall up. When I make friends, of course I'm expecting them to turn on me, they go wall up. So you put up these things like, already I'm gonna do the Medea way, I'm gonna get them before I get got, kind of thing, before we even let things snowball and get out of control in our ways, because we want to be having control of everything. And I thought that was interesting. She's saying with the sign of Gemini, we've got to watch with that energy as far as how we're communicating, what stories we're telling. And so that kind of flubs and kind of rolls right on into the stories that we might have told ourselves, that again, that has kept us to be unavailable emotionally out there. So let me turn it over to Stephanie, and let's look at the mental way when we're talking about somebody, because somebody might be, just like I say, a month old, not today years old, when I found out what emotional unavailable was. But what is the definition of it when we're talking about mental health ways? What is that?
Well, the definition of emotional unavailable, it means it describes a person who can be evasive, avoids meeting up, avoids open up emotionally, doesn't connect well with other people emotionally. They have rigid boundaries, and they have difficulty trusting people, and they have anger issues too.
Oh Lord. Check, and check. No, it's playing.
You know she's talking to you, right?
Oh no.
And it's usually, I would say that the way you can only become emotionally available is if you question if you're emotionally unavailable.
That's when you know.
That's when you know. Because if you're attracting experiences in your life that you don't want to be happening, or it's perpetuating something that makes you uncomfortable but yet familiar, then perhaps you are actually emotionally unavailable to the life that you're trying to desire. Whoever has been making my clothes jump off all day,
They
we
try
need to
to
have
make
a
you.
conversation.
They're trying to make you physically available.
So I think it's a lot of different definitions and different people exhibit emotional availability. I've seen where people are emotionally unavailable, but they be unavailable to the people around them, but they be like open to people outside of their
Good
immediate
point.
family. So you be like, how are you closed off with these people, but you out here trying to be connected to other people? So that's like an avoidant attachment style too. So
Oh,
attachment styles have a lot to do with it too.
that's what I was going to lead into. So how would that be again? That would show up what if a person is emotionally unavailable? That would show up as what attachment style?
Avoidant attachment style, it says, develops when an infant or a young child has a parent or a caregiver who is constantly emotionally unavailable available or responsive to their needs. So that attachment style is called avoidant. So they grew up being emotionally unavailable. But there's other types of being attachment styles too.
Where else? What other attachment style could that show up in through?
Well, there's secure attachment. What that means that you are attached, but it is one called disorganized attachment, and that means it's children who display a sequence of behaviors like readiness of goals and intentions. Adult attachment styles can be unloved or rejected. They can be angry or confused, and that can be called avoidant too. So it's like different ways it can show up in your life as an adult.
Did you hear that? You're somewhere on the spectrum between effed up and effed up, people.
Oh no.
And unless you're actively creating your heaven on earth, you are creating something different because we're always in a state of flux and flow. So in those spaces of connecting, like I really love meditation for calming down. Y'all, he just woke up from his nap, so he's all about mommy life. I tried to get him up earlier so it would be like this, but it might be like, see, I told him that once the clock points to 6, then I'll play with him. But anyway, that's the avoidant. I can't do that to my child. We can't have him develop issues when he becomes an adult. Just a moment.
Yeah, I think what you have is called a secure attachment with your child. That's what that is. So
That
that's
must be it.
a good attachment that she's attentive to our child needs and she is giving him what he wants.
Okay, okay,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, Also, this is a way in which a lot of times we see it mirror into our. I'm gonna have to take this because I'm hot. We see it mirror into our significant others or our twin flames or our counterparts as well, because a lot of times we're easy to see that he's not emotional, he's not available to me. I do this, that's when we get the push and the pull. We don't have them wanting to come. That's the retraction where they go on and they're retracted from us. So my thing is that again we have to remember that if we are seeing that, and I know it took me a while, just to be honest with myself, of me seeing that I had to say it's something within me that it is also harvesting this as well. I can't just keep on saying it's him and it's not me. It's like me standing in need of prayer too as well. Where is it that I'm not that? And again, like you're saying, if I look back in my childhood and growing up, and there was a lot of having emotionally where it was a lot of dependency on me as a child about what was going on between my two parents. That kind of caused me to have that kind of wall up. And maybe to others I might seem, in some ways I remember growing up, I was seen as being more attentive outside and more in a box inside because of all of this, like I feel like tentacles or octopus that is being like I need you for this. And I think it took me a while to kind of like notice that again, that it sometimes there was a point that I was also maybe putting up places where I thought I was being very outgoing to other people. They might look at me and they'd seen that again. It's a wall up. I'm not as open that I think that I am to them. So my thing is like, how what do you do at that point, as far as, I guess, I started after a while, I got this kind of like the signs and synchronicities or something, or even watching videos on YouTube, and they kind of like saying, oh, okay, well, maybe I do have this, and this. Uh, it might be something in which, again, there's a denouement in some ways, or some kind of way in which there's a climax when this all comes together. I think, and when we're talking about the twin flame journey, when we keep on seeing them exhibiting that, like, I show so much emotion, then stop. I show so much emotion, then stop. Then that might be something that you might want to turn. Like, I've turned over every stone. That might be an area that you might want to look at and see again. Am I emotionally unavailable in some ways? Because again, that might be a key to why your person is showing up in a certain way as well.
Yeah, so I'm happy that you shared that because that's very important. That's a self awareness that you had about yourself. It was interesting that you said that your parents was emotionally codependent on you, and most times the children become emotionally codependent with that parent. But your defenses came up, and you was like, "No, I'm gonna build a wall." So you realized that something was not right in that situation. So the reasons why now people are emotionally unavailable, that they have like reasons. One of them could be like rejection or fear of being hurt or being used or scared or being too much and not enough or didn't have healthy role models and things like that. But I always tell people to lean into your feelings and when are you feeling? Open up, and I teach kids, it's called social emotional learning. Learn your
Mhm.
emotions and recognize your emotions and what you're needing. So when you have fear, recognize it and see what it is telling you. You could be having fear of rejection at this moment. So that's why you have this wall up. So always lean into your feelings and then express them and recognize them. That's what I say.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. There's like I was thinking about how it seems like I was like, oh, when you were listing off the different styles, I was like, oh, and I got that one and that one and that one. So I'm guessing that it's like you can tell us because there's the professional perspective, right? And for those of us who are laymen in our self healing and self guided healing journey, right? You
Mhm.
have a team that works with you, just as you have probably within the spectrum of all of these, all of us growing up in the society we grew up in today, we're modeled these behaviors and taught these behaviors and coping mechanisms and survival mechanisms, right?
Mhm.
And now we're stepping into an age of, thankfully, self awareness, right? As well as, excuse me, self responsibility. And so, what are some, well, I want to go, there's two directions I want to go in it. I want to go a little bit deeper into the vulnerable aspects of becoming aware, how much we bump around in the dark and hurt ourselves, claiming we're looking for something, but we actually are calling in the exact opposite because that's what we crave, to hold that place in our ego that says we're not enough, that says we're um, part of this system that never was set correctly in the first place. Like, if our societies were built in the way that people and families actually live their lives, perhaps parents would be available. They'd be able to understand their own emotions. But we're coming out of a post colonial era, right? Where everyone was ruled and owned and they kept trying to trade people. When in reality, we're stepping into the Aquarian, we're free stage. But what does freedom even mean? And that's where, when people feel safe enough, I feel like they have the ability to heal a lot better and they can see themselves a lot better. But nobody likes to say, I'm responsible for my own suffering, especially if you're in like a codependent relationship or you're using, honestly, people hulk out with the spirituality, right? And they use that as a reason to hold on to um, their emotional unavailability, right? They don't want to feel into their bodies. They don't want to feel into those past hurts or those experiences where they were left wanting. So what would be, I still want, I love the problem solving part. I'm like, so what would be some ways to kind of test if and where we have our emotional unavailability? We, not that we will ever be completely satisfied, right? But we'll always have that little bit of wanting, but not those destructive patterns. What are some ways that we can start to look in that? I'll be right back. I'm getting summoned.
Some of the ways you have to let your guard down a little bit. Look at the areas that your guard is up. So that requires trust. So the person that you're emotionally unavailable with, you got to have some trust. And for you to have trust, you got to feel safe and be able to open up. So,
What if we have mistrust within our own selves
well,
about
then,
things that have harmed us or things that got in the way? Because I'm dealing a lot with people who have had trauma, a lot of sexual trauma, um, layers of abuse, and what are some ways that you can regain your own trust, right? Because you end up perpetuating things and putting yourself in similar situations that you're completely avoiding. You know what I'm saying? So anyway,
so
yes.
how you work on that is first, don't try to get another relationship with somebody carrying all that. Work on yourself first. Go to talk to somebody that knows how to work with trauma and things to heal those places inside of yourself that needs healing. And then you have to learn how to trust yourself first. I'm studying a module called Internal Family Systems, and it talks about the different parts of yourself called managers and firefighters. And in those managers, and the exile parts could be your inner child, and the managers try to keep your inner child intact, and the firefighters are the ones that those are the parts of you that might act out and stuff. So it's about self-awareness and allowing your higher self or yourself to take control of all those parts. So before that to happen, you got to recognize the parts of yourself that's fractured, that needs to be healed, and that's seeking for healing. So that's why that happen. You got to have trust within yourself. So before you can ask somebody or expect yourself to trust somebody else, you got to trust yourself first. It starts with you first. It's an inside out job.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about us as twin flames, in some ways, if we have gotten to that point that we know ourselves, we are at a point that we are have an advantage. And what I mean is that we are so empathic about feeling things. We can tell even in our bodies, like, okay, even when I'm doing that, and you talk about emotionally unavailable, you can feel it in your body. It's like, mm. You feel a tightness here. You feel it somewhere in your body. You feel like, okay, well, why would I get this person like, or my side tightens and clenches up, or my jaw does this, or whatever like that. So you can kind of like know if you're that in tune with yourself, and you can feel and say, when I have conversations with this person, I don't feel right. I mean, even to the point that even if you feel yourself kind of like having inflammation around this person. Okay, your body is trying to say some kind of way is trying to defend you or give you extra buffer. So, it's things that your body will tell you, you can sense within yourself. And I think if we're really in tune with our intuition and our awareness, it's going to lead us to say, something is not right. And again, it's almost like the saying, when when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Some kind of way, spirit will start seeing you synchronicities of videos all of a sudden on YouTube. They'll say, emotional unavailable. I didn't put this down. I'm trying to find out what's going on with the twin. If he dropping if he dropping the karmic, why this keep on popping up on my dang on YouTube feed all of the time? And so it will show you ways like, oh, okay, well, maybe let me look into this. What is this about? Or you hear somebody talk about it, or that's another way that in some ways, if you're in tune, and like I said, being a twin flame or a light worker or being divine or whatever you want to put it, the label of being more spiritual in this walk, you are being shown this. This is what they say in some ways. In order for us to go into this new thing, as far as the Aquarius age, you're already being shown these things. Of this, as Kathy D says about that coffee pot and this emotional unavailability, if this is one little thing that's you got to scrape off and you didn't know about it, or it's the underside and you took the pot off and it's the grids that's holding the caramelized stuff that's going on, and now you're seeing why it's smoking or it's smelling like that every time you make a pot of coffee. Now you're seeing what this is. And so I think another way, again, that is a next layer or advantage that we have is being very spiritually in tune or empathic about things, is that our bodies will tell us, or again, the way we get around in that vibration of that energy don't feel right. It will tell us like, okay, well, maybe it's something going on with me. So you, if you're very in tune, but I think the key word again that I'm hearing even you use and April use is that you've got to be vulnerable. Because I know myself with clients and you with clients and April with clients, if you're in denial and you're thinking it's more than just denial in Egypt, you got an issue. You're not going to be able to recognize that you're having this unemotional thing. Like I had to even tell my mom one time, I was like, I can tell in your heart chakra, this is kind of closed off. And so in doing that, sometimes people don't know that people can realize that, and they know that about you. And she's like, yeah, that I am that. And so again, sometimes we have to have people on the outside kind of call us on our stuff, and then we get that shock, or that that shock to the ego, like, oh wow, okay, I'm not as open as I am. So you get a lot of kind of clues that might come to you, your body, your intuition, those things, or people might even call you on your stuff, and you're like, where did this come from? Oh, or you might get synchronicities again, and like spirit might bring you some things that show you YouTube or people saying stuff on TV, conversations that can help you to maybe waking up to know that, hey, you've got this thing called emotional unavailable. So those are some things that I have experienced that say, oh, okay, that woke me up to that's what's going on. That might be another layer to me that I'm not realizing that I have.
Mhm.
Um, I'm like, I don't know if you can hear him, but he is being ridiculous out
Uh-huh, I can.
there. He is not emotionally unavailable. He's expressing all his emotions. No. The process of unveiling yourself to yourself and
It isn't the full moon. That's also
becoming
affecting.
becoming in love with your process of embodiment. So often the women in this channel, not this channel, that visit this channel have a disembodied, partially disembodied, right? So so you can see it pick up in signs of mental distress. So like if you're feeling more anxious or depressed or disconnected, these are the times when when doing some kind of anchoring exercise where you practice being present, right? That's what we also do meditation, is to slow the thought and to practice being in the present. It'll start to help you realize that all of these things are separate, yet they're all together and they're layered, right? So your emotion is one thing, and it can be triggered within the body. It could start a cascade of thoughts or memories or creations of ideas of the future. And when you are um, in this state of emotional unavailability because you are not present.
That's a
You're
good one.
stuck in a possible loop. You maybe are having an emotion that's overwhelming you, and you're becoming succumbed to that. When you integrate all of those things, like the emotion is appropriate for the moment, which you're connected to that which is in your immediate surroundings, that's when you can say, okay, at this moment, I am completely vulnerable and emotionally available to myself. And then from there, you can explore expanding that. So when you find yourself coming off of that and you're feeling uncomfortable, let's find out where that comes from. Does it start from the physical, or is it starting from a mental pattern? As it's, it's literally just and then as soon as this is over, it'll be like boop, boop, beep, beep, beep. So living in Okay, I have to handle this. I can't. I don't know why it's happening right now, people. They were gems. I'll watch the show back and type anything in there that I missed.
Maybe
But
he
your
has
body
something to say.
retracts.
Do he have something that he wants to tell us? If he want to let it out.
No, he just wants my attention. He's happy. He's in a pile of clean, warm laundry. Like of course he could be content if he wants to. And I guess that's true for us too, right?
Right. That's what I was about to say. That was a good analogy.
I mean, there's a reason why you have the disconnect, and there's a reason why you're not exactly where you want to be or progressing in the way you want to be progressing or connecting with who you want to be connecting. And that's because you're not stepping into that feminine aspect of attraction, as
Mm-hmm.
well as the balance with the masculine, which is doing right action. Right? It's not always doing all the action, right? You don't need to be doing all the work, right? You're going to heal your trauma eventually. You're not trying to cause a trauma on top of a trauma because you're trying to heal it too fast. You're taking your time in that process, learning to accept and understand that parts of you aren't available or parts of you are available, becoming more so available. Growing in your power, feeling, what's the word? Actually excited about your accomplishments, right? It can put you in a state where it's safe to be in your body again. It's safe to feel the emotions. And then you can go into the why did I shut my heart down in the first place? What are the several, because there's usually several events
Mm-hmm.
that have helped you define it. And a friend of mine, my mentor with the yoni steaming, which is a really great way to go through the storyline, especially for me. I used to disassociate, and I'm healing that part, right? Because the trauma was like fight or flight, right? And that flight was just stay in your body but leave the present moment. And so the yoni steaming is really great for that as well, like calming the nervous system, relaxing and opening the muscles, and putting you in a state of, okay, I feel myself. I feel safe in my womb. I feel safe in my body. And then I also like to do the belly dancing to move the energy, right? Because sometimes it feels like fear or ideas or concepts of the self, they get played over and over again, but they also get played in parts of the body and body pain that kind of keeps reoccurring. So moving in that flow like water. And then when you, with your energy, right, you can actually start to pull in and call in that which you desire, that which you actually want to hear and see and experience in a way that shows you how do you receive more of it. So I hear people ask the questions of, oh, they'll say something negative, and I've trained myself so well to not do it that I can't think of something negative right now, but they perpetuate by speaking negatively about a situation.
Mm-hmm.
They own it as if it's now.
Yeah.
Like, I am this, I am that. But when you start to go into I was this, or I did behave in that way, and I can forgive that space and time, it starts to let you accept who you are right now in a different way. You start to embody who you are in this now. Like, even when you're carrying something from your ancestors, a trait, or an imposition, like an attitude or something like that. It's, well, we were this way, but I'm changing it for the better for myself. If you speak highly of yourself and you speak in a way that, oh, well, we are breaking generational curses now, they say it, or generational wounds. Curses are one thing, but wounds can heal. They just need time and attention. And that's what, I mean, if you think about it like a bone, they say bones grow back even stronger when they break.
Mm.
And yeah, peace, everybody. That's good. I'm emotionally
Okay.
available.
So piggybacking on what April was saying, a lot of times people are emotionally unavailable too because they was taught or felt shameful because expressing their emotions or feeling their emotions was wrong. So they embody that shame, and that keeps them from expressing themselves as they get older, and it leads to, like you said, being in rejection or not being accepted or being scared. So, like April was saying, embodying it and recognizing your emotions will help you become emotionally available and showing yourself compassion. Like in this moment, like I feel sad. Okay, well, what sadness is? What does that feel like in your body? What is your signs? What is your body telling you about sadness? How can you express that? That's how you become more emotionally available. And also finding a safe space with that person that you can talk to. Yes, they can be your twin. I'm not sure. It may not be. Yes, it is. But finding a person that you can talk to, like, okay, this situation has me scared. It's making me sad. It's making me depressed. And being okay with expressing yourself.
Yeah, as you all are talking about it, it seems like to me, and I think about Kirk all the time, and he drills that in. It's like it's not about mental and psychology and the childhood trauma and all that stuff. It's all about the soul work. And if you want to be with your twin, it's about that. And so, okay, so now let's take the mental off and let's talk about the soul work. So what is it that we have been pretty much trained or open or exposed to, that when we're talking about the emotional things, sides of stuff, the emotional stuff is more so linked to the divine feminine energies, right? And so that means that when you're saying a person is on the outside, the illusion of it, that we're talking about in the 3D or the body and not the soul of it, that person is not in touch with their divine feminine energies. Because when you, I'm hearing you talking about that, saying that they're scared to be vulnerable or they're scared to open up. So again, that is a person who, again, when we talk about divine feminine energies, they have not sat and observed. They have not gotten in tune and in touch with the emotions, no parts of the or the state of just being. So you can look at it from, again, from another state of point of when we talk about emotional unavailable. That means how you been not available to the divine feminine energies within you. Where have you stopped observing and seeing about how you are in a state of being in the world? And so, again, how do we do that? Most of the time, observe, we feel things through our emotions or our feelings, or like I said, we're in our fields. That's like our antenna to understand about as far as where we are in locations and things and situations, how we react, how we should react or act in certain things or respond to things. But again, how we are is a state of a being or spiritual. So again, when we're saying about being unemotional, unavailable, to me, I'm hearing us saying that we're talking about the soul work. It's like, where are we missing the mark of not just being in a state of being, where we're not available to ourselves because we're so much, like April said, in the divine masculine energies, where we're showing up, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're pushing ourselves, we're doing all this stuff, but we're not available to our emotions to help us to stay in a state of being.
So I actually had a huge reflection about this for myself this week. I'm sure that everyone's having their unveilings right now, and I do
Yes.
feel like it's leveling up for sure.
Mhm.
Some of us are getting some owies along the way, but we're all doing our best to keep this shit together. No, but um, when we are balancing that masculine and feminine within the self, we overdo what we think what we think will compensate for what we didn't have back when we were initially traumatized.
Mhm.
So if we think that we didn't have a masculine vibrational set, like we didn't have the stability or the consistency or the um, then we'll go with that, right? Because it was the my emotions. Typically, when we're children, we just let our emotions come out. We let everything just kind of happen, and then we're told to stuff that down.
Mhm.
And it's it's not the fact that we had the emotion; it's that our body didn't have the release of the emotion. We stuffed
Mhm.
it instead of like shaking it out or having our cry or doing our thing. And so I've been finding that doing other things are releasing stored emotions that are in my body, and then I'm having memories that are bringing back what that type of emotion or where that was. It's Poppy. Oh, exciting! I'll be there in just a moment. Um, so one moment, sweetheart. So like realizing that if when we take the time to actually acknowledge that we're feeling, not stifle it. Like, how often do we say, oh, I don't want to feel that feeling, and then we'll numb it out, or we'll do something else and won't feel that. Or maybe you just don't want to sit with yourself. You think you got to keep going, but all you've been asking for is a break, but you're stuck in a line, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're like, but this isn't a break. This isn't the break. I mean, but it is a break, right? It's exactly what you asked for. It may not come in the exact form that you wanted, but that's when manifestation and attraction and all of these things start to come into play. But if you're having those places where you're ignoring that you have the emotion or the experience, then you're not going to fully have the clarity. You might have something that pacifies you for a few moments, but you won't have the clarity on how to ask the universe for the right thing. Like if you're addicted to just missing the mark, you're going to keep saying you're probably procrastinating, right? Most
Mm-hmm.
likely procrastinating, and you don't want to make a decision. And then the universe makes the decision for you because there is part of it, right? And maybe you didn't listen to those signs. Well, it's going to take a little while. I got to cook potatoes and stuff. But when you actually say, okay, this is an opportunity, I actually like it, I want to step into it, and you don't say, but should I step into it, over questioning, overthinking, going into the hypotheticals, am I enough, am I not good, am I too good for this? I don't know many people who do that, but that's out there.
I've been there, done that.
And
Mm-hmm.
like, it's really cool when you do listen, because then you do see the opportunities. Like, I didn't do something because my body said not to, right? My body, uh, long story short, numerology, astrology, all those things are awesome. Check them out. Learn yours, right? And so, according to certain things, I'm very led by spirit. So I'm very in the flowy state. And so, when I actually listen to that, it's great. But when I start to get into the ego part of it and the story part of it, and because spiritualism and stuff has its own ego, right? It's got its own
True.
thing associated with it. That's when these things kind of start to slap you on the wrist.
Oh God, you get the hard slap there.
Yeah,
The
I
pit.
like the slap on the wrist is such a nicer way of saying a back kick to the face.
Yeah, baby. Ain't nothing like a slap from God or the universe. Like,
I'm listening.
damn.
I've been
My
listening. I've been in
God.
denial, but I can't be in denial
You knocked my
now.
eyeballs out my socket. Damn.
And so, whatever you're taking from the overall consensus, maybe of your reality, unless you're delusional, like completely delusional, you're typically having that as part of your way of being, your existence. So if you're saying, oh, nobody wants to listen to me, nobody wants to do this, then maybe you're not even trying to speak up. Maybe you're even going to people who are busy, but you're not reading those signs that they can't pay attention to you. You're actually perpetuating nobody's listening to you. There used to be a thing where I thought nobody listened to me. Well, I found out I was a mumbler. Nobody knew how to tell me that I was mumbling, or I was
Mm.
speaking too quietly, because I was told at some point, oh, you're speaking too loudly, when I was a child, right? So you really get to gauge your reality from the new sets of things you learn. Like, you start taking off, oh, I am wearing this lens because of this particular childhood wound. Oh, I'm wearing this lens. Oh, I say I'm obsessed with love because I've been watching all these rom-coms, but I actually refuse to have love because my parents did this, or, all of these, I was abused in this way, like, it's very interesting, the layers. And I think now I'm finding rounding about to it. So she said, my mentor, Yoni Steam mentor, you heal in like cycles, right? We have the cycles and we see the patterns, and you don't want to scrape it too deep and just try to like, if I just think this out and talk it out as much as I possibly can, it can cause another style of trauma. But what it can is, you take it, you integrate what you've learned and what you've experienced, and your body feels safe to let you heal even deeper. And that's why having someone who's consistent and someone who can be there to listen, you're going to be able to shed that with a licensed therapist that you trust and love, and you can know. You can work from the spiritual angle. You can work from the past life angle. I know Divine Sunshine does some really cool past life regression that can really help start to work out some stuff for you too. And these things are layered, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with your therapist, you're probably going to want to talk about this lifetime. That's going to be your keys to healing all the other lifetimes. You could talk about the relationship with your parents, right? And their relationship to their parents and how that is now with you, right? And epigenetic wise, you can start to shift this through the alchemy that I show you about in the book, which is feeding your body the right things, moving your body and getting things going. I had a therapist, I had an acupuncturist, I had the whole nine. I was decked in healing modalities, but I think, there's a point where you have to let it sit and integrate.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and
Mute
that's
me,
what I
mute
was
me.
thinking. That's right. You have to get to the point where you are actually seeing, as far as when you get it for yourself, and especially when we're talking about that unemotional or the soul work that Kurt is always talking about on his channel. You want to really start owning and doing this. I think a lot of times when we talk about this shadow work and some of the things about emotionally unavailable, and it's interesting. I'm looking at the views there too as well, and I know in the playback sometimes we have more, but again, some of these topics are some things in which we kind of shy away from, or sometimes we just honestly, I'll say, you don't know that you are really having this, or this is another layer that you've got to deal with, or another journey, or something, a lesson that you've got to understand about, as far as getting to the center of, I think about the Tootsie Roll. How many licks does it take to get to the center of the Tootsie Roll pop? 238 or something. Well, anyway, I don't know why that came up. But anyway, you got to see how you can really get down to the center of who you are, because also they're bringing to me as well, you being emotionally unavailable really says there's something about you that you really are not getting about you. And again, you be unavailable because there's a part of you that you're not in tune with your heart, or your heart's desire, or what you actually live. And so that's another reason or caveat as to why this is something that you need to make sure that you tackle, because this is a lot of times of that gray area, or sometimes some people say it's that black hole. It's an area there, or a void in you that it's not reachable right here, and it's something that you've got to get. Now, don't keep on scraping, like April said, that to your point that you get yourself, that you are making yourself sick or tired or having a headache, trying to, like, I know that's probably it. What is it? What is it? What is it? Naturally, also, like Kathy D says again, ask the universe to show you, is this something? I tell, like, some people, don't go claim something that you don't. Maybe you don't have any. Everything about your emotions, but we're talking to some of those people that don't know. So don't go and claim this and add this onto your table or your buffet of things that you've got to go and heal from or deal from. I want to put that as a disclaimer too as well. This is this also some of the things is like he said, the soul work that we have to do again. Where is it that we're not as in touch or in tune with ourselves, in our heart, our emotional, what has happened, again, like we had said earlier, in life that has caused us to not really even having a barrier outside, but even a barrier for ourselves to not be able to get to those other, they say, juicy or lovable parts of us, because of things that have happened, and we don't know that we have shut the door, closed this off, because of what my mom had did, or an ex from Texas is did, or an experience in love, or what something had been said to us as a child has made us not to be so open and loving to ourselves. And so that is something again that we've got to again, as we're talking about doing this soul work, as he says, getting down to the core beyond just the surface level. What is it that we have maybe missed the mark, or we have not seen that we have missed that as well? And so I know Stephanie had gave me some very good key points about that as well. Is there anything else, if there's somebody that's trying to deal with emotionally, unemotional, mentally, or spiritually? Is there any other things that you can recommend or say that they need to do as well?
Like I think both of y'all all gave good points on how the person can start to be emotionally available. Like I said, it starts with having trust and being vulnerable in things. Open up and start trusting the people, or the people around you. Maybe like some people have trust issues with people doing stuff. Like they think they have to do it all themselves. Like I don't trust them to do it. Well, you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. So when it comes to feelings and things, if you're trying to connect with the other person, your feelings is how you connect with other people and people connect with you. So and how you read other people. So if you're trying to connect with your twin flame or somebody, try to open up a little bit. Say, hey, like I was saying, open up, express yourself. Because like I said before, sometimes it was shame attached to you expressing yourself before. Well, now hopefully in your twin flame relationship or whoever you're in relationship with, you are cultivating a safe place that you can share things back and forth. Start with a little bit at a time. Express yourself like cooking. I don't like scrambled eggs. I like my eggs or easy. Start and see if they
All right.
reciprocate those kind of things. So if you trust that person with something and they reciprocate it, like, okay, I hear you, and they don't make you shame for what you're saying, that's how you start building that connection. That's how you build that trust and things. And then you just go from there. So you might not want to start off with the big major issue. Like, I want to tell you something that happened when I was 11 years old. You might want to just start off with, like, hey, can you go put some gas in my car and see what happens? So, start small and work your way up if don't have that trust yet with the next person, with the other person.
That's good. That's very good. Yes, April.
I was like, make sure you know them before you give them the keys to your car. Just because they was nice at the grocery store does not mean they are your twin flame. Hold up.
That's my soulmate. We met in the jelly aisle. He was my peanut butter to my jelly.
Peanut butter.
Don't tell me he ain't my soulmate. He like grape jelly just like I do. No, I'm saying. But that is true, to start small, especially for those that are again closed off, or somebody had said something, because sometimes just as simple as that is like the eggs. Maybe somebody had even shamed them about something that they had liked and they had shared, and it's like, well, I'm just not going to share anything about what I like, I don't like, because I got really berated over the coals about me sharing about, like, you don't like that, why you don't like that? Everybody like XYZ, and you like, okay, so maybe I just don't share. So there again, it becomes unemotional. When it comes time for you to share something about yourself, it's like you go back and have that flashback to back then in 1999, and you like, last time I did that, I shared, and so now I'm gonna put the wall up, and so now I'm emotionally unavailable to that, and that, the one person that you should be, rather it's your twin or not, like you say, start small. I'm gonna share this and see what's their reaction. Okay, they didn't look at me funny. They just kind of looked at me kind of like a matter of factly. So okay, I'll trust them a little bit more with something else. Okay. All right, it looks like that's fine. I trust them a little bit more. I know that even with my divine counterpart, it's the same thing. It's just a little bit, and the more and more I was more supportive, I didn't give like that shock value, like what? It's like, oh, okay. And I shared, he shared. Then we learned to kind of like build that. And sometimes some things he knows more than anybody else that knows. Because I have that safety and that feel that vulnerability, and we have that safe space with each other. And so that is another way that, again, like you said, you start small, no matter if they're twin or not, or just a regular person. That'll help you to build down your defenses, opening up your heart, make you know that, oh, I can trust the world more as well. Because I'm thinking about something like affirmations. I'm more now into this subliminal messages where, they're showing pictures with it, and they've got these beats behind it to help to reprogram it. Because I think also when we talk about this emotional unavailable, emotional unavailability, that some of this stuff is so ingrained, it is so automatic that you involuntarily saying it without you. You meet a person that's like, I really want to meet a new person. And something within you in the dialogue before you even know, you're like, this person's looking at me funny. They don't like me. You know, you have this internal thing, but you're like, I'm open this time. I'm going to meet new people, but you don't pay attention to that dialogue that's underlying that ticker taper that's going on with that. See, okay, I knew I tried. I knew that wasn't going to work. See, now they done went off and talked to somebody else. I guess I bored them. You know, and so again, it's like you want to do this, but again, it's that without you even knowing, it kicks into gear to go the other way. And that's something that you've got to, you know, get a handle with too. So what would you tell that person that like they're really gung ho, like I'm putting the walls down, I'm gonna meet new person, I'm blasting Jody Wiley, I'm looking for a new love, all in the car to this place where I'm going to date, the speed dating, this is it. And then all of a sudden here they get there, and then it's that underlying little sub talking that they do to themselves. So what do you do then?
So I wanted to, you said some very good points right there. So one, realize you're in a twin flame relationship. If that's what we're talking about, that person is your person. Hands down, that's your person. So keep that in the back of your mind when you start going through this, that this person is not like anybody else. Also, yes, start small. This is your person, but they are still human. So don't lay everything on them at one time. Give it to them in small bits. And it's up in other relationships. Some people are emotionally unavailable, and it could be a person that's available. So they have to find a balance. They have to do like this tango. And it's a approach called emotional focus individual therapy and emotional focus therapy for couples. People that's having to do that dance is a tango. Like one person give, one person listen, kind of stuff like that. So if you're talking about a person that you said ready to get out there in the world and date, take baby steps. There's nothing wrong with being open, but take baby steps. Again, don't lay it all on that person at one time. Say, do some trust issues. Like, hey, you want to meet up on Wednesdays at noon for lunch? See if they show up. Take baby steps. Don't give it to them all in one time because you run the risk of being rejected or that person like, oh, you doing too much. And I also call those boundaries. People have rigid boundaries. They have healthy boundaries and they have porous boundaries. So make sure your boundaries are good. When you have rigid boundaries, that's when your walls are up. When you have porous boundaries, that's when you overshare too much information. But you want to shoot for healthy boundaries where you share personal information at the appropriate time, at the appropriate level that the other person can receive it. So it's about emotional availability and availability is also enhanced with communication and boundaries too. So all them things have to work together at the same time.
Yeah. So again, with the person that also has that negative self-talk that goes behind it, that's going kind of acting and conflicting with it, like they want to do, I'm gonna be available, but then again, there goes that subtext, as I call it, like it's going there. So what are some key things that you would tell that person to get them out of that? Like, okay, we're not gonna start this conversation now. This is what we doing. We new love. We open to our person. We know this is our person, and they accept us the way we are. The craziness or whatever like that. Stop having this talk. I mean, you could be like that, but what is some other things that you could tell that person? Because I've seen it is like I've had clients that it's good, but some kind of way they get into it, and then they go to negative self-talk, and before you know it, it's like you told me they were gonna be XYZ, and it didn't come out the way you said it was, and because again that negative talk. So what do you do?
Okay, so once again, it starts with yourself. You have to learn how to trust your own self. The models I'm teaching, they tell people that you have to embody the trust within yourself. So when you first start having those emotions, sometimes it might not be the time or place. Like it's not an appropriate time to have a outpouring, a complete breakdown in the grocery store. But tell yourself, we're going to tend to this emotion later. You go home, and when that emotion come up, you let it come out. That's how you embody trust within yourself. Your inner self will start trusting you, like, okay, I can start to relax. So after you start trusting yourself, then you'll be able to trust the other person. So that's how you do that. And with negative self-talk, it's about giving yourself positive self-talk and affirmations. I believe in mirror work. Like sometimes people haven't even looked at themselves in the mirror. They're too ashamed to look at themselves in the mirror. Go stand and look at yourself in the mirror. Pick out the part of your body that you have difficulties with and love on that part of your body. Give yourself positive self-talk. I use an example of a plant. When you grow in a plant, if you're telling your plant positive stuff, it'll grow full and lush. If you talk negative to a plant, it's not going to grow. You are your own plant. So it starts here. Tell yourself something nice. Tell yourself affirmations like, I am beautiful. I am loved. I am kind. I had a client who never heard that. Her parents never told her that. And I was just because nobody never told you that, you can't tell yourself. You can tell yourself that. Find your own beauty. I tell them all the time. I believe in black girl magic. Do things to make yourself feel beautiful, so you can see it in your own eyes. And I read somewhere too that when you look at yourself and you be like, "Oh, I'm not pretty," they said if you look at your eyes have dilated, so you only narrow in on certain parts of your body. Make sure you take a step back so your eyes can take in your whole body, your whole beauty, and you can say, "Oh, I am beautiful. I am nice. I am this." And also, I know that negative self talk can start at night. Well, I tell people to go to bed and wake up in the morning. Look at yourself with a fresh pair of eyes and say,
I
"Oh my
like
God,
that.
I am pretty. I
I
am
like that.
beautiful." So start your day with something positive to your own self with positive affirmations. Yeah.
You say at night you're most likely to go with negative talk, self-talk to yourself at nighttime.
Yeah. A
Oh,
pastor said, "Halt." It's called when you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. A lot of
yeah,
that self-talk and negativity
that's true.
start to happen. So I always remember halt. So I know myself. I get tired and I start thinking stuff. I get hungry. I get angry. So if you in that middle of halt, HALT, don't listen to your thoughts. Just shut it down. Go take a nap. Get something to eat, and then tomorrow you wake up and you have a better perspective on stuff.
Right, and that's always good. I know Kathy D talks about that too. It's always good for you to do your gratitude practice at the end, like sit down, and I've done that too as well, where you sit down and you give yourself go over the day and just give gratitude. I think even on my watch sometimes when I sit down and like stop, it's time to ponder and to think about it. Just think about one thing that you were grateful for. At the end, and that kind of helped you not to get into that negative Nelly or petty label about somebody or need a faker about a lot of stuff that has happened as
Right.
well. Yes, April, did you want to add something?
This is good. I'm just like, mm-hmm,
Yeah,
yeah,
she even
mm-hmm. Baby steps. I was just thinking that. Mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm. And it's like you're starting, right? You're creating habit, and that consistency of love and that consistency of presence will bring in that security that then translates into you. My masculine is secure enough to make action because he knows he will be effective. The feminine trusts open and vulnerable action and stepping into trusting myself, right? Because trusting the self is a combination. And I say, let's do it. We can all do it together, step by step. And when you see this happening around you, or people trying to push you into negative self talk, because sometimes you have these trauma bonds and you don't know it.
Yeah.
You meet up at the water cooler, you just start complaining about life. You can't say nothing good, right? You just got to complain while you're there. Nobody listens, or you feel like you're not part of the group. And these are all these little subtle ways that we like to self sabotage. We set up these little systems that keep our ego at the place it is. But when you free yourself from those associations or that attachment, you say, no, today is going to be a positive one. Today,
Mm-hmm.
even if somebody says something negative out their mouth, I'm just going to go ahead and twist that and show them how it can be positive. But I'm not responsible for them to take that. I did it for myself so that I can realize, okay, it can happen for others, and I see how they can have their change. I know that I can shift and I can keep shifting.
Mhm.
And so, forming communities, forming alliances with people who are growth oriented, who are in a positive mindset and growing towards their betterment and the betterment of everyone, as well as being able to admit when you're wrong. Oh, you were wrong this whole time. You're not fat and ugly and stupid. Actually, you're really smart and gifted and, voluptuous and, all the boys. Wow. Okay. Hello. It wasn't this loud the whole time.
Yes,
But he
yes,
but he noticed I
yes.
fixed them. I fixed his drums. So it's appropriate. Anyway, that drum roll is for you because woo, when you walked in here it was like, hello, you found the sticks, I see. Be careful. Okay, but yes, taking the time to remember how to love yourself and do it consistently, reparenting yourself to a certain extent, and building those foundations for yourself.
Yes,
Mhm.
Um, we like to look outwardly because that's how we've been programmed. We've all been programmed. And now it's time for us to reprogram and take control of that. And what do you want to see and experience and feel in your life? How do you want to be and feel and experience in your life? Connected, present, and a whole lot of pleasure and abundance. There was something you brought up earlier about shame, which I think is very interesting because I do experience part of that. But I realized that all of these people that put these kind of experiences in your path that you're now questioning and healing and thinking, they're all working from their own programming as well.
true. That's
And
true.
so going into that forgiveness, it's not just you did these wrong things to me, it's just wow, and compassion, and it's wow, this whole world, it was set up, we were rigged, man. And I really hope that you get the memo from your highest self to start to integrate peace on earth, heaven on earth, because it's coming through all of us, it's coming through you and me. And once you start to embody that, then you start to attract those people that want that energy, that are in that flow with you.
True.
And it's so simple because we're all starting to instantly manifest. I know a lot of people are hearing that. I just said that word and then I heard it on the TV or the radio or that conversation of the kids walking by. I said hamburger. So and so came up with the hamburger. And it was just, what? Right? So realize you don't need, it's happening. The coincidences are starting to form into alignment. So trust yourself, trust your process, and it's okay that you're not perfect yet, because you'll never ever be perfect. Because perfect just doesn't exist.
Right.
Zero doesn't exist. They won't tell you this in math class, but they sure do keep making you add them and subtract them and multiply them.
Uh-uh. Zero is just a placeholder.
It's true.
Just a placeholder. That's it. It has no value whatsoever. All right, then we're gonna wrap it up right there. I think we had did that, so you go out there and do the work that is needed to see. Again, like I said, for some of you all, see, feel within yourself. Does that seem familiar? If so, the universe will show you. As April said, it'll come up over and over and over again. Say, oh, maybe so. If not, hey, this will be the conversation will be mute, and that's it, and that's all, and it just holds space and just pray for others that are really dealing with that in their walk and in their journey, so they could be able to kind of shift it out and shift out of that lesson or response of need. Because again, we are light workers. I think this is to be open and receptive to love, and that's truly what we are. And so again, if we're emotionally unavailable, we are not being in the trueness of our nature when we're practicing and doing that. All right, then. Is there anything as far as you all are doing in the community that we need to know of? I can tell you myself, I have been told to just work on mission itself and to keep on doing that. I've been told to rest. I'm like, okay. So is there anything else anybody else is doing that we need to
I'm gonna
know?
call ditto on that universal chat.
Yeah, it was like I said stop. And I was like, okay. Like you can
I
take
passed out
clients, but
twice. I
yeah.
passed out in the middle of the day twice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, no,
And
you're
it's serious.
tired.
It's rest. It's rest.
It's rest and rejuvenation. I think that even came out last. It said the rest and rejuvenation. So I'm gonna let the last read like ride, like for the rest of it on that one. So I will do that. Anything with you, Stephanie? Nothing else? Nothing.
No, following you, I'm resting. Follow the
Okay. All
major
right. So that's
life change.
everybody's
Yes.
assignment.
Yeah,
Rest.
rest and recuperate
Rest
now.
and
Yeah.
rejuvenation.
Yeah.
That's and during this eclipse times and retrograde, again, rest and rejuvenate. All the RE words, rest, REST, rejuvenate, RE, all those things that would fall right in line with what
There's
the
some
retrograde is
rehashing.
asking.
There's some
Huh?
rehashing. There's some rehashing and remembering as well
Right.
as happening.
True. True. All of that is in there. So anything you think about that ends with that starts with the prefix re in it, or it's got re in it, we're doing. So be gentle to yourself. Be kind. This is the time again, like we said, practice self-love, self-compassion, self-talk, repairing, excuse yourself, give yourself a pass. If you need that wellness day, give yourself that wellness day. Take it off. If you say don't push yourself, even in that, go and do something nice for yourself, hang out with people. That's why I gave myself the assignment. I said connect with the world, do something else and out of it. Sometimes I'd like to go into the matrix and just say, let me just connect a little bit without me having to do the job of aligning and doing everything and clearing for the collective. Sometimes it's like, let me see what's going on with the people out here as well. So thank you so very much for listening. Make sure you subscribe, you click like, share, and to this, hit the notification button too as well for the channel Playground Experience as well. We're here every Friday, same time, around 8:30 ish, around that time, Central Time, so you can catch us on a live. All right, get us out of here, Stephanie.
Yes, continue to do your self-care, self-love, embody the feelings you want to, because you are what you attract. So if you want love, attract love into your life, and that's it.
Ooh, 1555. All
Stay
right.
blessed. Stay blessed. Stay golden. And remember, you were made for this golden life.
See what it say on there?
Living
my
life
like it's
golden.
beautiful. Because it is.
Because it is, right. And as always, stay uplifted, stay motivated, stay ascended. Namaste and Namago. All right, then. Until next time on the Playground Experience, we will see you.